Robbie Lawler was out of control.
This is Double Cross, the murder of Robbie Lawler.
It was going to be an all-out war with him in the middle of it.
Crime World special investigation podcast based on my new book, Web of Betrayal, wherever you get your podcasts. Liam Byrne's life hasn't gone in a great direction in recent times. In actual fact, the wider Byrne family and, of course, their in-laws, Thomas Kavanagh, who is married to Joanne Byrne, one of the Byrnes, they've just seemed to have blow after blow, starting immediately. And obviously the tragedy the family had from the Regency Hotel when David Byrne was murdered. What followed really was a massive crackdown on their organisations in Ireland and the UK. Thomas Bomber Kavanagh heading up the UK wing, and Liam Byrne, the brother of David Byrne, the Dublin one. They were hit by the Criminal Assets Bureau. They've been investigated. They left the country. Thomas Bomber Kavanagh came a cropper and got, what is he serving, 23 years or something in prison?
More than, I think.
More than now,
For the drugs.
So he was facing a simple stun gun charge. A stun gun was found in his property during a raid. Then while in custody for that, he found out, actually, hang on a second, this is a bit bigger than that. There was something like €200 million worth of cocaine importation to the country. He ended up pleading guilty on that, but still got a massive sentence. And of course, while he was facing that sentence, he cooked up this gun plot, which has brought down quite a number of his colleagues, including his brother-in-law, Liam Byrne, and his former right-hand man, Padder Keating, who I think they are no longer communicating too well. But nonetheless, all of this has happened. And of course, James Jaws Byrne, the patriarch of the family here, he died in recent times, and another cousin of theirs, Liam Rowe, died as well, quite young. So it's been one thing after another. But finally, a bit of good news for the family, because Liam Byrne's going to be a granddad.
Yes, he is. And he was said in court, he's only in his early 40s, 43, I think. So he's going to be a young granddad. But basically Liam Byrne's oldest son, Lee Byrne, who we've written about a lot in the Sunday World. Niall has accused me of stalking him because he's basically in a high profile relationship with Steven Gerrard, obviously massively famous footballer, his eldest daughter, Lilly. So Lee and Lilly have been going out since like early 2022. So over 2 years. And then just on Sunday, Lily put up on her Instagram, she has 200,000 followers, so she's kind of an influencer in her own right. That she's expecting a baby with Lee. Basically, she put up, it was 2 photos of a scan and 2 pregnancy tests and a little pair of baby beauties, and said, we've been keeping a little secret. Aminios is on the way, and tagged Lee in it. Okay. So baby Byrne is on the way, basically.
Baby Byrne is on the way.
Yeah.
So, like Lee Byrne, who has no criminal convictions, is the son of Liam Byrne, obviously. I think was named along with some sort of friends of his, Nathan Little and others, as being sort of I think Lee Byrne wasn't named as being any member of the Byrne organised crime group, but I think there was a suggestion in papers to the High Court by the Criminal Assets Bureau that he had sort of benefited from monies earned through the proceeds of crime by the father. Some close friends of his, Nathan Biggie Little, he's known as, and others were named as being underlings within the gang.
Yeah, foot soldiers.
Foot soldiers as such, yeah. Now, he has been brought up surrounded by criminality, while not obviously taking that route himself. He's taking a very different route. He's sort of taking a celebrity route, or a kind of he's a wealthy young guy.
Yeah, we've definitely done stories about his wealth in recent years, and even his steps, which would have been a good few years ago now. I think the Sunday World reported that he was taken in a Rolls Royce. So there's been a lot of that, and he lives that life. He's shedding around the world. He's often in Dubai. He's in Spain. He seems to have
goes to the races at Ascot.
Yeah, big fan of Liverpool, obviously, and I'm sure he doesn't pay for tickets now, given his association. But I think at the time they would have went for a long time. And has the watches, has the designer gear, and he kind of was a bit of an influencer as well. And I was looking earlier,
he's had quite a string of girlfriends, influency types.
He does, and he has 40,000 Instagram followers for himself. But because of a couple of years ago when Liam Byrne, I think it was when he's arrested in relation to the gun plot, he goes through phases basically of deleting photographs. So he actually has no photographs on his Instagram page, but still has 40,000 followers.
Okay.
But yeah, he does have.
So every time his dad gets into trouble, he has to get shot of the.
Well, I don't know if it's his choice but
Yeah.
he does seem to have a habit of, deleting his Instagram and then putting it back up. And he doesn't have any photos up currently, but he obviously shares his stories and you still see his glamorous life. And you're right, yeah, he does have a type. Previous girlfriend, Daisy O'Donnell, she's an English influencer. She has over 1 million followers on Instagram.
Right.
She was a model. She seems to spend a lot of time in Dubai as well. And, they had a jet set lifestyle when they were together. They split up. I think they obviously split up the year before then he got with Lilly, but he previously described her as the love of his life. So, he does live his relationships quite publicly. And he doesn't hide his associations either. Like Nathan Biggie Little, as you said, has been, linked to the Kinahan cartel on a lower level. And he's often putting up photographs with him.
Yeah.
Steven Gerrard was actually pictured with Nathan Biggie Little while he was in Dublin a couple of years ago as well.
Okay.
So no, he's not really hiding his,
No. And he's very supportive of his father. Didn't he tweet something or Instagram something after he was jailed?
Yeah. So as you said, it has been, a bad couple of years for the Byrnes, but reading between the lines, they seem to have taken Liam Byrne's sentencing for that gun plot in a positive way, because obviously he was arrested in Spain in June 2023. So that would be, a year and a half. And when he pleaded guilty to those charges, he was sentenced in December. He got 5 years, but it'll be time already served in jail. Yeah. And then the judge ruled that half of that sentence would be unlicensed. Yeah. So I think he might be out in a year. Yeah. So when Liam Byrne, that day, Lee Byrne reacted, put up a post and said, "Get in there.
Right.
See you soon, Dad. Love you so much." So he was basically reacting positively to the news that his dad had got a 5-year sentence, but obviously taking into account the fact that, he will be out in maybe a year or two anyway. He's not going to be much longer than that, given the other conditions.
So Steven Gerrard himself is not just Lilly's father. He's also a friend of Liam Byrne's. He has been publicly linked with Liam Byrne. There was a video some years ago that I think Liam Byrne called him up on the FaceTime or something.
Yeah, so he called up a fan. I think it was a man in Dublin. He was a big fan and had certain needs. And basically Liam had done a video call that went viral where he basically said, "I have Stevie beside me." And Stephen was sitting beside him. They seemed to be in some kind of restaurant, and basically said, "We're going to bring you to dinner and Stephen's going to come around and, you'll have tickets to Liverpool match." And the two of them were very pally on the call together. So that was a couple of years ago. Wouldn't have been too long before the arrest in Spain, maybe a year or so before. So
at that point, Liam Byrne was named in the High Court as a senior lieutenant in the Kinahan organised crime group, a murderous, multi-million drug cartel. He was the leader of the grouping here, basically in Ireland. He was a very dangerous and is a very dangerous individual himself. This isn't just a petty criminal. This isn't somebody who's left crime in his past. This is someone who's seen as actively involved in drug crime.
Yeah, and I suppose we saw that in the courts. There's attempts to try and say, well, he hasn't actually had a conviction in Ireland since I think it was like 2000 or late 90s. And his defence would have said, he's a 43-year-old man. He has been in a relationship with Lee's mother for 27 years and he was a spray painter. He used to be a car salesman. So there was the attempt to say that, but you couldn't, as you said, nobody could deny the fact that he's been constantly linked to organised crime, to Daniel Kinahan, to the Kinahan cartel. He has had a lot of assets seized by cabs. So that would have been well reported at the time that he appeared in that video with Stephen. And, I think Lily and Lee were in a relationship at the time. So the family just seemed to have been linked for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was...
So everyone's okay with it. And I mean, there's not an attempt to distance. Like Steven Gerrard is in no way trying to distance himself from Liam Byrne. It's not going to affect his image, his brand. Does nobody care outside? I mean, Ireland or a certain...
I suppose Steven Gerrard, I guess his playing career was long over at that point.
Yeah.
That, his friendship came to light, and I suppose he's one of the most celebrated footballers in England. I don't know does he have anything to answer really in terms of his public role.
He doesn't have anything to worry about brand-wise. It's not like as if some company is
Multi-millionaire.
going to pull out of branding him, and that's really all that people care about, isn't it?
Exactly. And he
just feels you could be cancelled for a hell of a lot less, or somebody else could be cancelled for a hell of a lot less. Sports stars seem to get away with a lot, don't they?
They do. And I suppose, though, it's, Steven Gerrard has been named. So it's not the first time he's been associated with criminals in the media. So like back in, I think it was 2008, he handed in a letter of reference in court to a criminal who was basically on the run, or he went on the run. He was convicted in his absence, I believe. But basically, that criminal was believed to have helped Stephen. Stephen was under threat from a different criminal over a woman previous to his marriage to Alex Gerrard, and this criminal is believed to have stepped in and helped him. So he gave a character reference, him, his father, and then there was also, there was a lot of news in the Liverpool media back years ago about how Alex Gerrard had previously dated Stephen's wife had previously dated a well-known criminal.
Right.
And then he went on to date Steven Gerrard's ex-girlfriend. So there was a bit of a swapping there.
And funny enough, I was only writing about this myself in recent weeks, that Steven Gerrard's cousin, who's known as Uncle Bobby, which is a bit confusing. But anyway, he was behind bars. He was, very well known UK criminal, and it was him that sort of put the seed of the idea into Bomber Kavanagh's head as he languished behind bars awaiting a very hefty sentence, that hand over some guns and do a deal with the police in the background and you'll get a lesser sentence. It was his idea. He had cited some case where it had been done before, and Thomas Kavanagh appeared to have run away with that and orchestrated it, and resulted in the backfired spectacularly, didn't it?
Yeah. So to answer your question, I do think that the Gerrards and the Byrnes seem to have a long-standing friendship. I don't know if it originates from the relationship or if the relationship came out of the friendship, but they don't seem to, on social media anyway, there has been no attempts to keep quiet about, originally the relationship, it wasn't public, and then since it's been public in the last couple of years, they're constantly sharing stuff. And obviously Lilly and the Gerrard family have no involvement in crime, so they can do what they want. But I guess even when Lilly has shared certain birthday tributes to Lee, you can see how close the families are, because there's photos of Liam with Steven, and there's photos of all different members of the family together. So they seem to spend a lot of time together.
Is there an interest from the UK media about who is this guy with Lilly Gerrard? Is she big enough? Is she known enough in the UK that she's a proper influencer? Well,
she's known because of her. I don't think it's because of her influencing. I think it's because of who her dad is. And it was funny, actually, on Sunday. She put that up on Instagram on Sunday evening, and I was making my dinner and I get the message from Niall. He sent it on to me. He said, "You're the first person I thought of." So we had to actually get it up online then. But the only other media to beat us to it was Daily Mail, and their headline was "Steven Gerrard's to become a granddad." So they did it in that sense. But then they did talk about she's having a baby with the son of an Irish mobster.
Okay.
So there is interest. And even actually, when we first heard that Lilly Gerrard and Liam Byrne were going out in 2022, we couldn't actually do the story for a while because he wasn't putting it out there who she was. He was covering her face.
Okay.
So he just said, he's with the daughter of a Premier League footballer, a former Premier League footballer. But one of the tabloids, I think it was the Daily Mail, or maybe it was the Sun, one of the UK tabloids anyway, went and got photographs of them together walking their dog in Liverpool. With Lilly and Lee. This was before it was really public. So there is an interest.
There is an interest. And I suppose if one of them goes on I'm a Celebrity or one of those things, there'll be a huge interest.
Yeah. No, I don't think they'd be
they're not that level. Or she's not at that level, no.
No. Maybe if they split up, she'll end up on Love Island.
I was going to say Love Island.
Maybe not.
I thought, no, I can't put her on Love Island now because she's pregnant with.
Yeah, well,
they're obviously in a very
down
happy
the line,
relationship.
I suppose. You never know. But no, they do seem to be very happy, and they've made they're constantly declaring each other as their best friends.
And they're wondering why they're being talked about in crime world, no doubt.
Well, this is it. And it's a funny thing actually, because we constantly get, Niall jokes about the stalking thing, because we constantly have comments going like, leave the poor lad alone and all this kind of thing. But at the same time, he's not trying to keep it under wraps.
No.
He's putting it very much out there. And even obviously you can't help who your father is, and most people would stand by family members, but he's still putting out his association with his dad and his friends.
He's his dad, he's his uncle, he's his granddad. There's a hell of a lot of, he has been surrounded by a hell of a lot of that growing up. What does he do for a living, or does he?
We don't know really.
He just makes money.
He seemed to have been Was he involved in a car business at the family car business
Probably.
at some point? And then he seems to,
He wouldn't have been involved in the family car business because I think that was described as a,
okay, yeah,
a way of paying drug debts and sort of
okay, so
using
no,
money. So that was there was 2 car businesses. There was Bomber Kavanagh's car business in the UK,
yeah,
which was a front for the drug dealing empire he had. And there was LS Active Car Sales here. Liam Byrne and Sean McGovern had that. Yeah,
okay.
look where the 2 of them are now.
Yeah. So in fairness to him, he seems to have a nice life, and we don't actually know what we do puts down his role on any forums as his work role, but he does seem to have a social media presence. He has a lot of followers, but you don't see him promoting a lot of brands either. He has in the past, but I suppose Lily has a very privileged lifestyle. She does seem to work with a couple of brands on her Instagram, but she also is living in they seem to be based in Bahrain now.
Oh right.
And Stephen is managing a club in Saudi Arabia, which is neighbouring there. But Bahrain is apparently, I was just getting this from the Daily Mail, but apparently Alex Gerrard has a much nicer lifestyle in Bahrain because there's a lot of restrictions in Saudi Arabia. I don't think you can drink alcohol there, or
God, I wouldn't like that.
No, no, definitely not. Your midweek wine would be gone. But so they have a very nice life, and they seem to be renting a mansion in Bahrain. It's 10 grand per month.
I'd be bored, Eimear, out of my mind. Yeah,
I don't know. I think I can manage it for a while now.
Could manage it for a little bit of a hollybops,
for a little bit of time.
Not
what was it? -3 here this morning, so
yeah,
I wouldn't mind it for a while. But
I wouldn't mind the heat maybe for a little while. But
yeah,
no, that life. I don't know. What would you do? I mean, how many pairs of shoes can you buy? And
I know. I suppose
photographs of yourself can you take? And
Lily, she'd be putting up photos in the gym. They seem to have exclusive memberships of these,
probably free
clubs. Yeah.
So what do you spend your money on if you're an influencer and you're loaded? You get everything for free, right?
Yes.
No, I'd say they're all free.
They seem to have a family jet as well because they put up photographs, and they're definitely not flying Ryanair.
I'm like,
so Lee is obviously, he's over there too, and he seems to spend more time in England, but I'm sure he gets some benefit of that lifestyle too.
Well, look, the best of luck to them.
I know, sure. If you have it, why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Eimear.
Thanks, Nicola.
I'm Nicola Tallant, and you're watching Crime World, a podcast about criminals, drugs and the underworld in Ireland and across the globe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can be the first to watch all our latest episodes. You can also listen wherever you get your podcasts.